Right now, today, you are going to help someone you will never see again. You'll hold a door. You'll give directions to someone lost. You'll help a stranger load groceries into their car. Maybe you'll spot someone drop their phone on a crowded sidewalk and chase them down the block just to hand it back. You won't ask for anything in return. You probably won't even think about it. But here's the strange part. Evolution shouldn't have built you this way. Every trait that survives natural selection survives because it pays off. Somehow, in some currency. Usually that currency is your genes getting copied into the next generation. Helping your children pays off directly. Helping your siblings pays off indirectly because you share genes with them. Helping a friend who will help you back later pays off too eventually once the favor comes due. But a stranger, someone you will never interact with again, someone who can't repay you, who can't protect your children, can't share a single strand of your DNA, that should cost you something and return nothing. And evolution has no patience for a trait like that. A gene for pointless generosity should have been edited out of the species a long time ago. So why do you still do it every single day without even noticing? The first explanation scientists reached for was reciprocity. Scratch someone's back today, maybe they'll scratch yours tomorrow. In 1981, biologist Robert Axelrod and mathematician William Hamilton ran a famous tournament, pitting different cooperation strategies against each other over and over inside a game called the prisoner's dilemma. The winning strategy, called tit for tat, was almost embarrassingly simple. Cooperate first, then just copy whatever the other player did the last time you met them. Reciprocity like this can absolutely evolve. But notice the catch hiding inside it. Tit for tat only works if you're going to meet that same person again. It's a strategy built entirely for repeat encounters. A stranger you'll never see twice breaks the whole model before it even starts. So scientists reached for a second explanation. Reputation. Maybe you're not really helping the stranger. Maybe you're helping your own image. In 1998, mathematical biologists Martin Nowak and Carl Sigmund modeled something called indirect reciprocity. The idea is simple. Even if this exact stranger never repays you, someone might be watching, and a reputation for being generous gets rewarded later by a completely different set of people in a completely different situation. That explanation is powerful. It's also incomplete, because researchers went looking for the one condition that would strip away reputation too. What happens when nobody is watching at all? No witnesses, no community, no possible way for word to travel back to anyone ever. In 2001, a team led by anthropologist Joseph Henrich ran ultimatum and dictator games across 15 small-scale societies on 5 continents. Foragers deep in the Amazon, herders on the Mongolian steppe, farmers in Papua New Guinea, communities with almost no exposure to Western economic behavior at all. The setup strips away everything reputation needs to function. 2 strangers, 1 decision, a sum of money to split, total anonymity, no repeat game ever, no possible payback. If reciprocity and reputation were the whole story, people in that setup should keep everything for themselves. Every single time, in every single society. They didn't. In every one of the 15 societies tested, people still offered a real share to a stranger they would never meet, never see again, and who would never learn their name. Something was still running underneath, something game theory alone couldn't explain. Here's where it gets even stranger. In 2003, economists Ernst Feyer and Urs Fischbacher published a review in the journal Nature, pulling together experiment after experiment on human generosity. What they found shows up constantly in humans, and as far as researchers can tell, almost nowhere else in the animal kingdom. People don't just help strangers. People pay to punish other people for being unfair to strangers, even when the punishment costs real money, and even when they weren't the one wronged. You will spend your own resources just to make sure a stranger you've never met gets treated fairly by someone else entirely, with nothing in it for you but the fact that it happened. That's not reciprocity. Nobody's paying you back for that. That's not reputation either if nobody's watching. So what's actually going on? Here's the turn. Your brain didn't evolve in a world full of strangers. For most of human history, you lived in a band of roughly 150 people. That number keeps showing up across anthropology, and it's close to the size a human social group can grow to before it becomes too large to track everyone in it personally. By name, by face, by reputation. In a group that size, there's almost no such thing as someone you'll truly never see again. The person who needed help today might be sharing your fire next week, or hunting beside you next season, or married into your family within a few years. Reputation wasn't a clever, calculated strategy back then. It was just how life worked automatically, because you were always going to run into the same faces again and again for your entire life. Your brain built a single system to handle all of it at once. Help people, track fairness, punish cheaters, reward generosity, and it never had to build a separate setting for one very specific, very modern case, a true one-time stranger, because for almost the entire span of human evolution, that case barely existed. Then cities happened. Then roads and ships and airports happened. Then you started living around thousands, then millions, of people you would statistically never see twice in your life. Your circumstances changed fast by evolutionary standards almost overnight. Your wiring didn't get the memo. So when you help a stranger today, you're not making a cold, calculated decision about future payoff. You're running roughly 300,000 years of small group software on hardware that was built for a world of familiar faces, inside a world that outgrew the tribe a long time ago. And here's the part that makes this feel less like a strategy and more like a reflex. This isn't something you pick up later, once you've learned social rules and etiquette and how reputation works. In 2006, psychologists Felix Warneken and Michael Tomasolo tested toddlers as young as 18 months old. Children barely passed learning to walk, let alone learning manners. The researchers gave these toddlers small chances to help an adult stranger who dropped something out of reach or was struggling with a task. The toddlers helped anyway, immediately, without being asked, without any reward offered or even available, before they'd had time to absorb a single lesson about kindness, fairness, or how a person is supposed to behave in front of others. If helping strangers were a rule you learned, an 18-month-old shouldn't have it yet. But they do, which means it was never a rule you learned at all. It's closer to a reflex you were simply born with, sitting underneath language, underneath manners, underneath everything you were ever taught. So think again about the door you're going to hold today, the directions you're going to give a lost tourist, the stranger whose name you'll never know and whose face you'll forget by tomorrow morning. Someone covers a stranger's coffee at the register because their card gets declined. Someone swipes a stranger through a subway turnstile because they are a few coins short. Someone pulls over on a highway shoulder for a car they've never seen before, belonging to a person they'll never see again after this exact moment. None of it makes headlines. None of it needs to. It can feel like a small, forgettable gesture, a tiny act of politeness that means nothing in the grand scheme of anything. But it isn't nothing. It's ancient machinery, built across hundreds of thousands of years in bands where everyone eventually saw everyone again, still running exactly as designed, inside a species that outgrew the conditions that built it. Every time you help someone you'll never see twice, your brain isn't malfunctioning, and it isn't performing some hidden calculation either. It's remembering a version of the world that hasn't existed for thousands of years. A world small enough that no one was ever really a stranger at all. And for one small moment, holding that door open, you bring that world back.